Good evening, everyone. I'm really delighted tonight to have Sally Rogers with me. I don't go to a lot of concerts, but I went to a folk concert with her and Claudia Schmidt at the Vanilla Cafe about 6 months ago. And I just felt this amazing, wonderful, I just felt happy. It was a wonderful experience. I felt like I was surrounded by love. And I just had the greatest time.
You
And
were.
it was just really gorgeous. I have to admit, I don't go to many concerts in my life. I guess when I was a kid, I remember going to a beach one time when my parents were on vacation, and I was probably like, I don't know, 10 years old, and they were singing, "Blowing in the Wind" on the beach. Someone had the guitar, and it's just wonderful music. But you are a writer, a composer, and singer, and I thought you and Claudia were like attached at the hip, but you also have your own careers too, and so
Oh yeah.
yeah, you're a composer in your own right, singer, songwriter, and got a great career. And we're going to review a lot of your stuff. Of course, it's impossible to get just do a small amount of your composing. I actually love the fact that on your website you have over 400 days of music that you sang, a piece every day for 400 plus days. That's just amazing.
Well, that was
So
during COVID, and I only sang Monday through Friday,
oh
and
well, I
and I
mean
did
that.
take the first summer off. In summer of 20, I took June, no, July and August off.
It's impressive, though. That's very impressive. Yeah. So, tell me about your early life. What was it like? Did you grow up in a musical home, or how did music become a part of your life?
I grew up on a farm. My dad was a cherry and apple grower, and
Oh,
my grandparents had the farm, and then he took it over when they passed on, or when
yeah.
my father passed on.
Hmm.
And my mother has a degree from the University of Michigan in piano and organ, and she was
Oh,
always playing in the house. And she also was the organist at every church that I attended, it
I
seems.
love it. Wow.
And so as a kid, I used to go to church for her to practice. She had to lug us around,
Yeah.
so she could get her practicing in. And so she would go to the church and play, and we would be sitting there watching her feet move on the organ pedals. And she was
I
she was a really excellent
I'm
pianist.
impressed. I don't know how they use feet and hands at the same time. It's
I,
just
I don't either.
magical.
I don't either. I watched it in astound.
Yeah. And so, did she want you to become an organist and a pianist, or no pressure on that?
No, no, no. I never learned to play the piano. I tried.
Oh,
She tried to teach me, and I just never learned. But I sang, and I sang in choirs and growing up, and I ended up getting my degree in
hmm.
music education. Yeah,
So
and
it was
I taught.
was it pretty obvious to you as a child that you were going to go into the world of music?
Not at all.
No,
No, in fact, my mother saved my fourth grade report card from my absolute favorite teacher I ever had, Mrs. Sweeney. And on that report card, it said, her problem is going to be trying to slow down and to choose what it is she's going to do.
wow. And that's in the
So,
fourth grade. How prescient was that? Wow.
yeah, she was very
Yeah.
present. She was a great teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I think that's still true to this day. In fact, believe it or not, I got my degree and then I interviewed for teaching jobs and didn't get a one.
Oh
And
no.
then a musical buddy, Stan Rogers, who's not related to me, but Canadian
Mm.
songwriter, fine songwriter, he insisted that I go to Toronto for an audition for women performers because
Oh.
Mitch Podolak at the Winnipeg Festival was looking for women to fill out his roster for the summer because oddly enough he had no women on his
Oh.
list of performers for the festival. And
Mm.
so I did go. And you're asking, did I? No, I had no idea that I was going to. In fact, I just assumed, people, you get your degree, you're supposed to work in that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to end up teaching. And I got music because it was easy actually. I mean, I started out in at the University of Michigan. I was there for a year and thought that I wanted to study linguistics because I spoke four languages, and I thought, okay, I'll
Wow.
study linguistics. And I couldn't think what I could. I loved the study, but I couldn't figure out what I would do with it, and
Yeah.
ended up going to Michigan State to study music therapy. And I was in the music therapy program for a couple of years, and then realized that if I really wanted to be a music therapist, I would be volunteering at all kinds of places to get experience working with people who needed me. And I wasn't doing that. I was working at Elderly Instruments, the music store. I was making dulcimer bags, sewing them and selling them at the store. I was
Mm.
performing wherever I could get a chance locally to
Yeah.
perform. So, the easy route out was to go on the road. That would seem to me much easier than facing academic
Yeah.
and 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 I intended to. I could teach. I had to teach 3 out of the first 5 years after I had my teaching certificate in order to keep it. And
Oh,
I thought,
really?
okay, well, I'll just go on the road for a couple years
Mm.
and then I'll stop and then I'll go teach. But it was, well, let's see, how far is it from 1978 to 2001? So 78, 12. It was 13 years. Is that 13 years? Yeah,
Mm.
13
Mm.
years later, I ended up getting a teaching job.
Oh, wow. Well, we have a wonderful interview, a little bit of a snippet of an interview from 1985, where you talk about how some of the connections you started to make at these folk festivals helped you in your career.
Oh,
So,
totally.
so let's share a little bit of that.
Well, I noticed on your second album, there's Dakota Dave Hall,
Mm-hmm.
as well as Claudia Schmidt,
Mm-hmm.
who are recording artists in their
Mm-hmm.
own albums.
Mm-hmm.
Was it difficult to get them to record for help you on
Well,
songs?
I had gotten to know them as friends, and whenever, well, Dave lives in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and I played at the Coffeehouse Extempore about a block from his house fairly often, and actually I met him both he and Claudia I met through folk festivals and stuff. You know, when you end up at these festivals, you meet lots and lots of people that you never get a chance to see during the year because you're working and so are they. You know, on the same night. So. Some festivals provided, the meeting ground for us, and so we, like Claudia and Jan Mara is another person. She's not on the album, but the three of us sang at a couple of festivals and on Prairie Home Companion together, and through those connections, I really wanted, I knew that if I recorded those songs, I really wanted to have Claudia sing, and she, agreed to do that.
So, and he still interviews, I understand, right?
Well, I was in Florida just last week, and somebody mentioned listening to his radio show, and apparently he's still on. I didn't realize that. I'll have to get in touch with him, tell
I
him who
love
you
that.
think is.
I love that. Now, you and Claudia obviously got together, and this next thing is actually something that you did at the Vanilla Bean Cafe, which is where I saw you. And this is Agnes, Won't You Go With Me to Lake Michigan? Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, this is a song I wrote for my grandmother, and it's really the song that started my career. Um,
Yeah,
Oddly enough, I never intended to sing this for anybody except for my grandmother. And
no
at
kidding.
92, she was starting to have dementia, and she
Mm.
had a little basket of cards next to her knitting chair, and she would, read them, and each time she read them, it was like it was brand new. So I wrote this song, and I sang it for her, and then I put the card in her basket.
Mm.
And I never intended to really sing it for anybody else. But then I was at the time helping to run a coffee house called the 10 Pound Fiddle. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary, the 10
Oh
Pound
my
Fiddle
God. Yeah.
in East Lansing. And so a woman named Lisa Null was performing, and she came and stayed at our house, and she asked me if I'd written any songs. I said, yes, I've written this song about my grandmother. And she said, can I record it? I said, oh, you don't want this. It's about my grandmother. Why would you want my song about my grandmother? She said, oh, just sing it for me. So she recorded it. And little did I know, she was on her way to the Prairie Home Companion to sing with Claudia, who I did not know at the time,
Yeah.
um, and Helen Schneer and Jean Redpath and Lisa Neustadt. And they were going to do this program in one of the big theaters there. And it was called Big Voices or Women with Big Voices or something like that. And
Mm.
apparently, Lisa taught this song to several of the that we're going to be singing, and they sang it on Prairie Home Companion, like, a couple
Nice.
weeks later. And
Wow.
and I got a letter from Garrison saying, "Would you like to be on the show? And don't be surprised if you run into Agnes in your travels, because it's a wonderful song." And so the song has continued to travel, and it's the song that introduced me to Claudia as
I
well.
love it. I love it. Well, here the two of you are singing it. I love to play the whole thing, but we have so much to cover. We'll probably just do, a couple of verses. But
Hope people can
but this
find
is,
it online.
yeah, it's a great song. Here we go.
Oh, Agnes, won't you go with me? We'll be married in style, and we'll cross Lake Michigan, so blue and so wild. We'll cross over Lake Michigan till we come to the shore, and our orchards will blossom for our babies as they're born. Oh, yes, I will go with you, leave Wisconsin behind, though my parents think a little of my life on a farm. Oh, to leave the gay city life, to be buried on a farm. But I'll watch the orchards bloom in spring, spend the winters warm in your arms. Oh, Agnes, won't you go with me? We'll be married in style, and we'll cross Lake Michigan, so blue and so wild. We'll cross over Lake Michigan till we come to the shore, and our orchards will blossom for our babies as they're born.
I love it. I love it. How did you come up with these lyrics? I mean, that's a whole other skill on top of writing music too.
Well, I was driving from Interlochen to Mesick, Michigan on the back roads, and it is one of those songs that dropped into my lap. That's about 20 miles, and I had it written by the end.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was and the melody is significantly influenced by hanging out with old-timey musicians, and we had been playing Midnight on the Water, a tune that I absolutely love. And
Mm.
it goes da 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 da
So similar, but not identical. Yeah.
da. So I definitely
Nice.
stole a little
Yeah.
bit of that.
That's wonderful. That's now I have to admit I can't let this go, but did you say you know four languages?
I do.
How did that happen?
When I was 13, my dad was getting his PhD, and we ended up moving to Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And
Mm.
he sent us to the Brazilian school, which at the time we thought was just a horrible thing to do. How can you do that to us? Oh my gosh, we won't be able to understand anything. It was the
Mm.
best thing he ever did. We, all three of us learned to speak Portuguese fluently,
Wow. That's a
and
difficult language too. That's not
yeah,
easy.
not so much. I mean,
Really?
it's kind of like Spanish. It's harder than Spanish, but
Yeah, yeah.
because it has a lot of irregularity.
Mm.
But it's a really fun one to speak. And
Wow.
so I got pretty good, and then went to school and learned French in school. Had a really good French teacher, and then
Mm.
went to when I graduated high school, I was accepted in the American Field Service AFS exchange student program, and they sent
Yeah.
me to Switzerland. And I thought, why couldn't you send me to Brazil? I speak Portuguese. I'd love to go back to Brazil. They didn't send me
Wow.
back to Brazil. They sent me to Switzerland, and it ended up being again another gift. And I lived in Basel, a German-speaking part of this. Switzerland has four languages depending on where you are.
Mm. Mm.
And in Basel, they spoke the dialect in Basel, but the family that I lived with were actually from Zurich. So in the house that I was living in, they spoke the Zurich dialect, but my friends
Mm.
spoke amongst themselves the Basel dialect. And in school, they spoke High German.
Oh
And
my
High
God.
German is not like Swiss German. It's very
Wow.
different.
Wow.
For example, you'd say, uh, let's see, if you wanted to say, pass me the butter in German, it'd be pass, Pasta Butter. I can't even say it in German.
Mm.
Pass
Yeah.
mir Butter, bitte. I've probably got the
Yeah, yeah.
everything else. But in Swiss German, and particularly in Zurich, Swiss German, you say, gib mir's Butter, bitte.
Oh, that is very different.
And it
Wow.
goes, brup, 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 brup.
So you
So,
probably know about 6 languages actually, if you could do all 3 of those.
well, I can't do High German very well at all, but
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can. In fact, I was trying to speak High German to a woman who was living with us, a teacher. She was living with us for half a year as a guest teacher and from Germany. And I said, "Oh, let's speak German." And so I started speaking German to her, and she says, "Oh, but I don't understand Swiss German." But I was speaking High German.
Oh no. And then
My
your
High
dad
German.
got a PhD, so he must have been pretty bright. What was he doing?
Well, he had this farm, and
Hmm.
then he went bankrupt, and he lost the farm, and so he went
Oh
back
boy.
to school
Hmm.
and got his PhD in, are you ready? Economics.
Oh wow. And was he
So,
helping Brazil? Was that the idea, helping them with their
well,
economics or something? Or?
I'm not sure. He actually, I mean, originally he thought he was going to go to Columbia. We thought we were going to Columbia,
Oh.
um, and then it turned out that his head professor had a job, had gotten a temporary job with USAID, which no longer exists,
Oh, I know.
our fine
Yeah.
president,
Very sad.
and it was in Rio, and so he asked my dad if he wanted to go there and do his research, his dissertation,
Hmm.
and so he did, and
Wow.
um, and it's very interesting. He was the first person to have access to the computer at the university there.
Oh,
And they had, I'll never forget, they had the punch cards.
yes.
I remember Dad coming home one day and he was so depressed. And we said, "What happened?"
Oh, wow.
Someone dropped the box of
Oh
cards.
no. Oh no. Oh
And,
God.
they have to be all in the right order. It doesn't work.
Oh my God. That's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah. So anyway,
Anyway, back
that's
to
why we
back
were
to
there.
yeah.
And then, and the Swiss connection, actually, here, I can show you. My Swiss sister painted this.
Oh wow.
Can you see that?
Yes, that's gorgeous.
It's about 10 feet by 10 feet.
Oh my God.
And it's called The Last Whale Watchers.
Hmm.
And
And that
so,
was done years ago. Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
That
that was
was
done in 1988.
nice. Wow. That is something else. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And so anyway, I stayed in touch with the family. In fact, we're leaving on the 11th of June to go and visit because my Swiss brother, Felix, and his wife are celebrating their 50th wedding
Oh
anniversary.
my God, that's wonderful.
And I
Oh,
was
that's
at their
exciting.
wedding. So,
Are they gonna have you sing at the wedding?
oh no,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the way time worked out, we couldn't go to the big, huge bash they were having for the 50th.
Okay.
But I will actually be there on the date of their wedding anniversary. And I
Oh,
will sing
nice.
them something,
Well,
I'm
that's
sure.
more important. That's obviously more
I
important.
think so too.
Yeah. All right, back to your music. Let's talk about the next song we have on the list here, Circle of the Sun. Tell us something about that.
Well, I wrote that song on the way to my dad's funeral.
Ah.
And he had been ill for about 6 years. He had a brain tumor.
Hmm.
And his brain tumor was discovered by the first CAT scan at Mayo Clinic.
Oh my God. Oh.
So it was, that time.
Yeah.
And so he was sick for about 6 years and he died in 1980. And we were on our way driving north, or I was in my car driving north to, well, this is, let's see, this is Michigan. Yeah, you can
Hmm.
see Michigan. Okay. And
Hmm.
I was down here in Lansing and I had to go up to here to
Hmm.
Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And halfway up in Michigan is Clare. And no matter what is going on in the southern part of the state, once you get to Clare, it changes. And so it was pouring down with rain when I left Lansing. But when I got to Clare, the sun came out, but just in a little circle around me. And I had just realized that my friend T.I. Shippers, who wrote Lies, that song Lies, she was just about to have her baby. And
Hmm.
so I started out by writing Babies Are Born, thinking of her, and then thinking of my dad and thinking of the circle. And so, because I was on the way to his funeral. And when so I got it started, and when I got to Frankfurt, I went out on the pier in Frankfurt in Lake Michigan, and I sat there and I finished writing it. And
Wow.
my dad part. So it's connecting Rachel Davis and my dad.
Now, this is an MP3, and this comes from one of your albums, I assume. True?
Yeah.
Which album is this from?
Circle of the Sun.
Circle of the Sun. Okay. Let's play this.
Babies are born in a circle of the sun on their birthing day. Babies are born in a circle of the sun on their birthing day. Clouds to the north, clouds to the south, wind and rain to the east and the west. But babies are born in a circle of the sun on their birthing day. And children take the first step in a circle of the sun on their walking day. Children take the first step in a circle of the sun on the walking day. Clouds to the north, clouds to the south, wind and rain to the east and the west. But children take the first step in a circle of the sun on the walking day. And children speak the first word in a circle of the sun on the talking day. Children speak the first word in a circle of the sun on the talking day. Clouds to the north, clouds to the south, wind and rain to the east and the west. But children speak the first word in a circle of the sun on the talking day.
I love that. Who is singing on this besides you?
Claudia.
Is it just the two of you? Because it almost sounds like there's 3 or 4 voices there.
I think there's 4 of us. Let me think. It would have been Claudia and me, and I think Frank Youngman, who used to play with a band called the Lost World String Band.
Mm-hmm.
It's the 4th, because maybe it's only the 3 of us, but I think there's another voice, but I'm not sure who it was. I can't remember.
Wow. Now, this next song
Definitely
is
Frank.
pretty special because you wrote the words to this, Love Will Guide Us, and it's now in the Unitarian hymnal, which is very cool. And we found something that's online that has a whole bunch of choral people playing, so it's quite fun. Did you want to give us any more history on this before we play it?
Just that I mentioned Helen Schneier earlier as one of those women with big voices. Helen made an album with Folk Legacy Records, and she recorded one whole album of just hymns. She loved hymns. She was a Jewish woman, and she was over 6 feet tall. She was just a grand presence. And she was great at singing old Southern Baptist hymns. And she collected hymnals. And one of the songs that she recorded was called I Will Guide Thee. And I, just from my own spirituality, I don't feel real comfortable singing songs with Jesus in them because a lot of people don't believe in Jesus. So I want to have something that's more inclusive. And so I loved the melody, and I loved the sensibility of the song because it was about love. And so I took the melody and I rewrote the words in a non-secular way. When the Unitarians took it, they sent me a thing to proof, and I proofed it very, very quickly and didn't realize that they'd straightened out the melody. They straightened out the rhythm so that it's normal, but in the actual hymn, there's a shorter space between 2 of the lines. But oh well. You send your children out there, you never know what's going to happen. And then the other thing that they did is they left out 2 of the verses. They only put the first verse.
Oh no.
So I think when they sent me the proof to read, they were asking me, is this it? And I just assumed they were putting the words. They didn't. So but
that's great though. You're in the hymnal. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, here it is.
Inside us.
Wow. Isn't
Well,
that a rush?
they also changed one word. They objected to "Through the Dark Night," which is what I wrote, and
Mm.
they said that they it felt too racially charged, I think,
Oh, no
and
kidding. Wow.
and I didn't feel that at all. I said, well, if you must, do what you need to do, but I put dark there for a reason, and I meant it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, sometimes you have to make, you know,
Like I say, you put your children out
that's
there, and you
right.
never know
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Yeah.
Speaking of children, this is a great segue because the next one is in the name of all our children. So tell us about that one.
Well, I was the president of the Children's Music Network for a while. It's an international organization that
Oh.
works to empower children to make the world a better place and
Mm.
through song. And one of our guest speakers one year was Nona Beamer from Hawaii, and she is a keeper. She was a keeper of the hula tradition and the chant tradition in the Hawaiian culture, and just a delightful human being. Just
Mm.
one of those life-changing people that you meet in your life.
Yeah.
And anyway, she was giving us this talk about her people and about the music in her community, and she said that the chants that they sing always end not with "in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost," but "in the name of all of our children."
Wow. That is
And I
nice.
loved that thought.
Mm.
And,
Hmm.
thinking of we have to think about what we leave for the future, what we leave for our children.
Yeah.
And um, and so I wrote this for her, and I got to sing it for her the next year.
Very nice. Very nice.
We will sing with each other as the world turns round. We'll sing with each other as the day grows long. We will sing with each other, growing wise and strong in the name of all of our children. We'll remember the young ones as the world turns round. Remember the young ones as the day grows long. We'll remember the young ones growing wise and strong in the name of all of our children. We will cherish our elders as the world turns round. Cherish our elders as the day grows long. We will cherish our elders growing wise and strong in the name of all of our children.
Love it. Love it. That's so sweet. Very nice.
Thank you.
Very nice. Now, this next one, and this says this is like for Pete Seeger. We'll pass them on. Let's talk about that.
Well, this was at another meeting of the Children's Music Network.
Mm-hmm.
Pete was our keynote speaker, and he was also a member of our organization and came quite frequently. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so I was very lucky and got to know him.
Mm.
And that year he was the keynote speaker, and my daughter Milana was 4 years old at the time. And after a lunch of spaghetti and wiping her mouth with a little napkin, Pete gave his talk, and I was crying because I just thought, oh my goodness, not only am I getting to hear Pete Seeger, but my little daughter is getting to hear Pete Seeger.
Oh,
Not that she remembers, mind you, but but
yeah.
anyway, as we were sitting there, this song dropped into my lap. It's another one that they don't all, but that one totally dropped into my lap. And all
Yeah.
I had to write on was this spaghetti covered napkin. So I quick wrote it down, and most of the people at the conference were very quick studies, and I sang it to a few of my friends, and then we sang it for Pete in our closing ceremony,
Oh my God.
and he got
Wow.
teary-eyed, and it was sung at his funeral too. So
Oh my God. Wow. That's impressive. Wow.
yeah,
Here we
but
go.
yeah, he's an amazing person.
Mm.
When you're gone, who will sing? When you're gone, who will sing? When you're gone, who will sing your song? You have planted the simple seed of singing in our hearts, and we'll sing them with each other as we pass them on. We'll pass them on. Them on. Pass them on. We'll sing your song. Pass them on. You have planted the simple seed of singing in our hearts, and we'll sing them with each other as we pass them on. When we're gone, who will sing? When we're gone, who will sing? When we're gone, who will sing our songs? We will plant the simple seed of singing in the world, and we'll sing them with the children who will pass them on. They'll pass them on. Pass them on. They'll sing our song. Pass them on. We will plant the simple seed of singing in the world, and we'll sing them with the children who will pass them on. When they're gone, when they're gone, when they're gone, who will sing their songs? They will plant the simple seed of singing on the wind, and the children of the future, they will pass them on.
Nice. Very nice. I can see how touched he must have been by that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was moved.
Mm. Mm. That's really great.
Do you know
It's
Pete?
amazing sometimes how things just come to you, right? Like so, like the
Yeah,
muse or whatever. So
yep. It's the muse.
yeah.
The muse sometimes shows up, and I was going to say, Pete. If you wrote Pete a letter, he answered by himself. He answered every letter that he got, and you can imagine how much mail he must have gotten.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, I never actually saw him live, but I did know about him as a kid. But also, he had a major presence in that new movie with Bob Dylan, which was very
Yes,
cool.
I
So
haven't
that was
seen it yet,
very,
but yeah.
oh, you'll love it. It's very sweet, very sweet. Yeah. Now, this next one is Crossing the Bar, and you and Claudia are singing this one. We have a nice video on that one. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Crossing the Bar is the words are by Alfred Lord Tennyson and the music by Ronnie Arbo. So this is not one
Mm,
of my songs, but
okay.
it is a beautiful song.
Mm,
And apparently, well, I first heard it being sung at Lee Haggerty's memorial, and Dick Swain and Nancy Matala sang it, and that's where I learned it was from them. And
mm,
it's just a wonderful song about end of life. And apparently, um, what's his name? Alfred Lord Tennyson. He wrote it after nearly dying. He was on a train trip and he was very, very ill, and he actually didn't think he was going to survive the train trip. And when he
no
got
kidding.
home and he got better, he wrote this poem, and he asked then that it be included in any anthology of his work and always be placed at the end. So if you look at any anthology of Alfred Lord Tennyson's work, you'll find that poem there.
No kidding. Wow. All right. So this is Crossing the Bar.
We'd like to sing you a song here that you can join in on as well. The words come to us from Alfred Lord Tennyson, and the gorgeous melody comes from Ronnie Arbo. Some sunset and evening star, and one clear call for me. May there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. When I put out to sea. May there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. Twilight and evening bell, then at last the dark. May there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. When I embark. When I embark. May there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to meet my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bars. When I have crossed the bar. When I have crossed the bar. I hope to meet my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh my God. That's so sweet. Wow.
That was at a NERFA showcase, and we only had a really short time to sing a song. Like we had 2 minutes, and so most of the songs we know are longer than that, including that one. So we left out a verse, and we left out the.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow.
It turned out fine, but there's a verse missing, and there's an instrumental break missing. Yeah.
I will
If
have
you
to
want
go
to hear
back
the
and
whole thing, you can find it on my website.
I love it. Yeah, your website's amazing. You've got over 400 songs in there that you did every day, once a day. That's pretty impressive. Anyway, and you have you have a store with all your albums there and all kinds of things. It's wonderful. Let's talk about Prudence Crandall. Am I saying that right?
Crandall. Uh-huh.
Crandall. Prudence Crandall. Yeah. This is also another one that you sang with Claudia. Tell us a little bit about that one. Is this one of your originals, or is this?
Yeah, I wrote
Yeah.
this song.
Yeah.
I was in 1997. I was the state troubadour of Connecticut,
Mm.
and so I didn't really have a specific job to do, but I figured I ought to do something to, for the occasion. And so
Yeah.
I organized a residency in 3 different schools: a rural school, a Milltown, and an urban school, and worked with 4th graders, and they collected oral histories in their communities and then wrote songs about them. But then I
Mm.
also had to write some songs based on primary historical documents. And this is based on a letter that Prudence Crandall wrote back to the townspeople of Canterbury. Prudence
Mm.
Crandall she started the first school in the country for the purpose of teaching young misses of color, as she put it.
Mm.
And she was hired by the people of Canterbury to teach their children. And then a girl named Sarah Harris came up from Norwich and asked if she could matriculate. And she was Black, and Prudence Crandall was a Quaker, and she absolutely said, "Of course, come right away." And so she came, and then the day after that, she was the only one who came, and the townspeople wanted her to kick her out and, be done with it.
Oh
And
boy.
and so Prudence Crandall refused, and so set up a school instead for young misses of color, as she put it.
Mm.
And she was very much involved in the abolitionist movement, and Garrison Keillor, not Garrison Keillor, William Lloyd Garrison, who wrote The Liberator. He was friends with her, as well as the Bensons, who lived just down the road from her. And she had all kinds of grief from everybody in town for having this school. And this song tells about all the things that they did to her.
Wow.
And the main nemesis was Andrew Judson, who was the what do you call it, selectman of town, first selectman. And his house is now a Dunkin' Donuts parking lot, and Prudence Crandall's house is a national museum.
Oh, that's great. Well, with that, without further ado,
Your part goes, I know that justice shall reign. I know that peace shall prevail. I know that all humankind must learn to love one another as one. Here I sit in my 86th year. I write this letter with ease. The sacrifice of time you have made has brought me solace and peace. I never asked for charity, only redress for the past. But my loss of home and livelihood could not dim my faith in God. I knew that justice would reign. I knew that peace would prevail. I knew that all humankind must learn to love one another as one. When Sarah Harris came to my door so many years ago, I never dreamed a town could scheme to hurt a person so. Teaching misses of color would become a state offense. I could not obey such an unjust law, defied all common sense. I knew that justice would reign. I knew that peace would prevail. I knew that all humankind must learn to love one another as one. Well, you remember the townspeople's acts of slander and abuse. My well was poisoned, my house set on fire. No church nor shops could we use. My students suffered sorely, but they held their heads up high. Though every step brought taunts and jeers whenever we passed by. They knew that justice would reign. They knew that peace would prevail. They knew that all humankind must learn to love one another as one. I gladly passed a night in jail. No bail was offered to me. The papers all across the land reported my trial by jury. Oh, when the black law passed, the bells did toll in a church where we could not go. This news of a just recompense I greet with tears of joy. I knew that justice would reign. I knew that peace would prevail. I knew that all humankind must learn to love one another as one. I knew that justice would reign. I knew that peace would prevail. I knew that all humankind must learn to love one another as one.
very nice. Now, when you write these things, do you have a general process, or is it different every time? So, for example, do you sometimes have a melodic line, then you figure out the chord structure under it, or do you come up
It's
with a chord
different every
structure?
time. In this
Yeah.
case, I don't really remember exactly, but it was based on a letter that she wrote, and that the
Mm.
chorus is almost all her words. And so the words dictated where the melody would go. I wanted it to be da 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 da. I wanted it to be a powerful chorus.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
one thing that I haven't talked about too much in my songwriting is I almost always make the song singable for the audience because I
Oh.
always want the audience to feel like they're part of what we're doing and that and
Yeah, I wanted to sing just now, but you don't want to hear me sing.
oh, I'd be fine with that. Everybody can sing and everybody should be singing. We need to use our voices now more than ever.
Yes, that's
And
true. Boy, we need that song now more than ever, you know?
yeah, yeah.
That,
Well, she was
yeah.
a wonderful role model, I'll tell you.
Wow.
And
Wow. And what state was she in?
well, Connecticut. She was
She
just
was in
down the street.
Connecticut. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
just 13 miles from our house
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
in Canterbury. Actually,
Yeah.
close to you.
Wow.
You should
Yeah.
go. Yeah, you should go down.
Yeah.
It's in Canterbury. It's right at the corner of
Hmm.
the crossroads that go through there.
Yeah.
Across from the Dunkin' Donuts where Andrew Judson's house used to be.
I guess the only thing worse would be if it was a sewer plant or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Dunkin' Donuts,
Oh, well,
that's
anyway, we won't
just
go there.
just
Um,
dessert as we were.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I don't necessarily start with one or the other. Although often I'll start with words and the words will dictate the meter of the song,
Yes. Yeah.
and the power of the song, where things need to be big and where things need to be small.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Now, this next is aptly called epitaph, and I understand that actually came from a walk through a graveyard. I think when you saw an
Yeah,
epitaph.
I during the year that I was the state troubadour in that residency. Well, I'll tell you first of all, but the epitaphs are from a graveyard in Preston, Connecticut, and
Mm,
they're in one little area. There are the three grandchildren of the grandfather that are there. So it's a family lot,
mm, hmm.
um, and I think that all three children died young, and I think they
Mm,
must have, and they all died within a couple of years of each other. So I
yeah.
think they must have all died of things like measles that now have a vaccination to prevent them from being buried in the cemetery with their grandfather.
Yeah.
So the grandfather's epitaph is "We shall meet again, it will not be long." And
Mm,
when I was singing this song in the school with the fourth graders, there was one little boy who he sat under his desk almost all the time. And the teacher said, just let him be there. Just let him sit there. He's had a really hard life. I think one of his parents was in jail and one was dead. And I mean,
mm,
he'd had a brutal life and he was only in fourth grade. And he just sat there and he was listening, but he didn't participate at all. And then one day I got there and we'd been singing this song and said, sing epitaph. Sing epitaph. I want to hear epitaph. And he spoke Spanish as his first language. And uh, I was like, okay,
uh,
absolutely. And we sang it every time I came after that. And
oh, that's wonderful.
it came out from under the desk.
Yeah.
Power of music.
Wow. Well, here it is.
Fare thee well, sweet bud of beauty, little Eliza, fare thee well. Thou wast too pure and lovely here on earth to dwell. We shall meet again. We shall meet again. We shall meet again. It will not be long. Her little form lies buried here, her spirit's gone to heaven above. 'Twas hard to part and shed a tear for one by us so well beloved. We shall meet again. Oft upon the still air trailing cometh tones of thee so dear, and the heaven thy spirit shrineth, we can almost deem thee near. We shall meet again, we shall meet again, we shall meet again. It will not be long. We shall meet again, we shall meet again, we shall meet again. It will not be long.
Very nice.
That's such a sweet, sweet song.
Very sweet. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting how you got that inspiration. Where do you think you get most of your inspiration? Is it just from things around you, or how do you get inspired to write a new
Well,
song?
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I suppose it's very similar to how a poet or a
Mm.
novelist or a short story writer or an artist or anybody gets their
Yeah.
inspiration. You go around and sometimes you have to work on it. And for example, uh, I have written quite a bit of stuff on commission. I wrote the music for four music meaning songs for four
Mm.
folk operas for a Mennonite community in
Oh
Newport News,
wow.
Virginia,
Hmm.
and that was in the late '90s. And that that was based on I was working with playwright Joe Carson, and Joe would write she would write a scene, and then she'd send it to me, and I'd say, "Oh, here's this perfect spot. Can I steal your words here and put them in a song instead?" She said, "Sure, no problem." So we worked really, really well together. That was such a fun project.
Wow.
Um, but in that case, the inspiration for the songs came from the stories that came from the oral histories in this community. It was a
Mm.
wonderful,
Hmm.
wonderful experience
Oh
to
my
be
God.
involved with that.
Yeah.
Uh, and uh, then another a poet or not, yeah, a poet for children. Oh shoot, what's his name? Uh, it'll come to me.
Hmm.
Anyway, he asked me if I would set his songs or his poems to music. And
Hmm.
he said, I have no idea. He says, I've got an idea to put out a book and maybe put a CD in the back of the book. And I said, sure, what the heck. So it was really good practice for me. And it never got published. And the work
Oh
is
no.
sitting on a computer disk somewhere.
Yeah.
But it was a wonderful experience for me to learn how to, on request,
Yes. Yeah.
write music for
That's
something.
a real skill. Now
Well,
you did.
I learned how to do it pretty good. So.
Yeah, you definitely did. Now
Um,
this next one is inspired by the Habitat for Humanity. We will build this house. What's the story on that one?
oh gosh, this is another one that fell out of the sky. You're going to think they all fall out of the sky, but no, they don't. But
Yeah.
this one did. I was at the Vanilla Bean Cafe, and I was going to play. I was ready to play in a benefit concert for our local chapter of Habitat for Humanity,
Uh-huh.
and literally it was 20 minutes before the concert. I was eating my dinner, and this song just uh, dropped into my lap.
Wow.
Mostly the chorus, particularly, and then
Hmm.
everything else. And I sang it that night. And I did do a little bit of tweaking, but very little tweaking after that to
Hmm.
get the song in. And yeah, so that's the origins.
I love it. Well, here it is.
We will build this house with the strength of our arms, with the love of our neighbors. We will build this house. We will build this house as a shelter from all harm. With the open door of justice, we will build this house. A house of warmth, a house just right, a house to keep away the this night. A house of hope, a house of peace, a house where all within may safely sleep. We will build this house with the strength of our arms, with the love of our neighbors. We will build this house. We will build this house as a shelter from all harm. With the open door of justice, we will build this house. A house that's built to remind us all of how we are connected, whether great or small. A house of dignity, a house without shame, a house with walls bearing all our names. We will build this house with the strength of our arms, with the love of our neighbors. We will build this house. We will build this house as a shelter from all harm. With the open door of justice, we will build this house.
That's great. Wow. And so, was this used by the Habitat for Humanity as like on their advertising and things like that too, or how do they use
I
it?
think there have been some groups that have used it. This particular group here in Northeast Connecticut has used it a couple of times for different things that they've done,
Yeah.
and it's out there. So if anybody's listening and they're involved with Habitat and they want to use the song, they're welcome to.
I
I
love
did
it.
want to mention too that I mentioned before the website. I do have a website, and on that website you can find all of these songs, and most of them are available as MP3s as well as CDs and downloadable. But and the reason I mention it is because these days it's harder than ever for musicians to make a living, and
Yes.
anymore
Yeah.
anymore, if you make a CD or you make a recording, it gets put up online and people download it for free. And
Yes.
if you hear it on Spotify, we're getting 0.0004 cents a play.
Yeah. And now they have
And
this ridiculous thing where if you don't make if you don't have 1,000 hits a month, they don't even feel they have to pay you anymore. So it's like,
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah,
it's crazy. So
crazy.
what's happening is we end up making our music really as a promotional tool more
Mm.
than anything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so anyway, if you really want to support musicians, go to their website and download their music and pay for it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's
Absolutely.
not expensive. It's 99 cents a cut, so
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. And now is the time. Now is the time to do it. But this is
now is
also
the
your.
time. That's the name of another song.
That's the next another song. So let's play that next. Tell us about that. You wrote me a note that
This
it's for
song I
John
wrote in
Lewis. Yeah.
2016 after watching some of the sit-down protest led
Hmm.
by John Lewis in
Mm.
the House, and it was for sensible gun control.
Hmm.
And so I wrote this, and it's again, I've stolen somebody's words. I used a lot of John Lewis's words, especially the first verse and the chorus are from his speech that he gave.
Mm. Well, that's makes sense. It's in honor of him. That's wonderful. Here we go.
There comes a time when you have to say something. There comes a time to make a little noise. There comes a time to end the silence. There comes a time to raise your voice. There comes a time when you have to move your feet. There comes a time to step into the fray. There comes a time for extraordinary action. There comes a time for a safer day. And now is the time. The time is now is the time. The time is now is the time. Now is the time to get in the way. right goes wrong. There comes a time to hold the hand of your neighbor. There comes a time to end an endless war. There comes a time to turn fears to action. There comes a time to say no more. And now is the time. The time is now is the time. The time is now is the time. Now is the time to get in the way. And now is the time. The time is now is the time. The time is now is the time. Now is the time to get in the way. To make a way out of no way. There comes a time to say no to the NRA. There comes a time to ban automatic guns. There comes a time to keep guns out of angry hands. There comes a time to get it done. There comes a time when you say we've had enough. There comes a time for marching in the streets. There comes a time for us to protest. There comes a time to save a heartbeat. And now is the time. The time is now is the time. The time is now is the time. The time is now to get in the way. And now is the time. The time is now is the time. The time is now is the time. Now is the time to get in the way. To make a way out of no way.
You know, this is timely. I just read today, in fact, I don't know why it just happened to be today, that 58% of suicide, no, 50% of gun murders are suicide. And out of those, and out of suicide attempts with guns, 94% are deadly, whereas most other ways people try to commit suicide are not as efficient. So, you know, they
Oh,
tend not
guns
to
will
be
do
as,
it.
guns will definitely do it. So just really sad. And unfortunately, you know, it seems like money talks in this country right now. It seems like money is the
Oh,
influence.
more than ever.
It's like buying the votes. It's just forcing, you know, it's just, anyway.
Don't get me started.
That's right. That's right. Don't get me started. Oh my God. Okay, so now the next one is No Time to Feel Hopeless. Um,
And this one's based on the words of Dorothy Day. And Dorothy Day said, "There's no time to feel hopeless when there's so much work to do."
mm-hmm. Okay, so let's hear this. This is actually you singing again. Here we go.
Ah, there we go.
That was a quick song.
You read a book, one word at a time, one word at a time. You read a book, one word at a time, until the book is through. You learn to swim, one stroke at a time, one stroke at a time. You learn to swim, one stroke at a time, till you can cross the pool. There's no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless when there's so much work to do. You walk 10 miles, one step at a time, one step at a time. You walk 10 miles, one step at a time, until your journey's through. You build a house, one brick at a time, one brick at a time. You build a house, one brick at a time, before you enjoy the view. There's no time to be hopeless, no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless when there's so much work to do. We live our lives one breath at a time, one breath at a time. We live our lives one breath at a time, until our lives are through. We'll fix this world one mess at a time, one mess at a time. We'll fix this world one mess at a time, no matter what we do. There's no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless when there's so much work to do. There's no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless, no time to feel hopeless when there's so much work to do.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, that's funny. I had just written it when I made that little recording, and I've changed it. The last verse is, "We live our lives one breath at a time, one breath at a time. Live our lives one breath at a time until our time is through," instead of our
Mm.
life. And then we'll fix this world one mess at a time, one mess at a time. We'll fix this world one mess at a time. Together we'll all pull through.
I love the concept of this thing at a time, thing at a time. But how did you come up with that? That's really just so clever. It's a nice,
It was from Dorothy Day, because
yeah,
she talked about dropping a pebble in the water, and one at a time the rings would go
yeah.
out.
That's great, great concept the way you blew that out to all these different things. Yeah. Now the rest of these are all MP3s, and this next one is A Quiet Soul. Give us a little background on that one.
Well, I mentioned the Mennonite community,
Yeah.
and Esther Mabel Yoder and her husband John David Yoder were the ones who brought me into the community to write the music for their folk operas.
Mm-hmm.
And Esther Mabel had collected hundreds, I know over 100 oral histories in her community,
Mm.
and upon those the stories of the plays were based. And she again was another of those people that changed my life. I mean, deeply, deeply moved me and affected me, how she
Wow.
lived her life.
Yeah.
And the entire time that we were working on these plays, she was sick with cancer, and
Mm.
she never complained, you never heard a peep of complaint from her about
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And she was just a queen, a wonderful person. And
Mm.
she after we finished the plays, not long after, she passed away, and
Mm.
the community called me and asked if I would come down and sing for her funeral. And unfortunately, I already had gigs on that day and I couldn't come.
Mm.
But I was thinking about her, and this song came to me, and I sang it on the phone, and somebody recorded it and they played it at her funeral.
Mm.
But and the thinking behind this song was to make each each last line of a verse become connected to the next verse,
Ah.
so that just as life rolls this way, and these verses rolled that way.
Mm.
And it was, so I was thinking of her, and I've sung this for other people, in fact even for my mother. So
Mm.
A quiet soul has left this earth in peace. In peace she leaves us here in quiet grief. In quiet grief we bid our last goodbyes. Goodbye to one whose spirit flies. Her spirit flies to seek amazing grace, the grace that's found upon her master's face. He welcomes her to join that heavenly place, that heavenly realm where all shall meet. We all shall meet her when our own time when souls all gather making one. One soul, one heart, one life, one spirit song. Love has been there all along. A quiet soul has left this earth in peace. In peace she leaves us here in quiet grief. In quiet grief we bid our last goodbyes. Goodbye to one whose spirit flies.
That is really beautiful. And something haunting about it too. It's just, oh,
Yeah, the bass dulcimer helps. That's the instrument. You hear the low
I was
instrument.
going to ask you, the instrumentation sounds different. And even the main instrument, what is that? It's like, it's not
The
just a
main
guitar.
instrument is the dulcimer. It's my bass dulcimer. It's
Oh, it is. Okay.
four
Yeah.
strings and it's an octave below the regular dulcimer. And then the high sound is Claudia playing on her
Oh,
regular
regular
dulcimer.
dulcimer. Oh, that's a beautiful sound. It
Yeah.
almost has an Asian feel to it too, somehow.
Well, because it's a pentatonic melody, I
Pentatonic.
think.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Claudia calls my bass dulcimer the Countess Basie.
I love it. Gotta love her. That's great. Now, this next one is a shorter one. Plant Me a Garden.
Oh, this one I wrote for the Michigan State University Children's 4-H garden. And
Oh,
in
wow.
that garden, they had a pizza garden where everything grew on a slice of what could be used in a pizza. There was a color garden. There was a textile garden, an alphabet garden where everything started with a different letter of the alphabet. Just a wonderful, playful garden. And when I started teaching not long after that, I made a little sound garden outside my classroom to sort of mimic that.
I love it.
That's where this song came from. This was for the inauguration of the garden.
Oh, that's great.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Gonna make it grow.
Gonna make it grow.
Gonna water it well.
Gonna water it well.
Gonna weed and hoe.
Gonna weed and hoe.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Neath the sun above.
Neath the sun above.
And the seeds I'll plant.
And the seeds I'll plant.
Are the seeds of love.
Are the seeds of love.
Gonna plant it in the yard.
Gonna plant it in the yard.
For my friends to see.
For my friends to see.
Gonna plant it for you.
Gonna plant it for you.
Gonna plant it for me.
Gonna plant it for me.
With a little bit of care.
With a little bit of care.
They'll grow to be.
They'll grow to be.
Flowering rainbows.
Flowering rainbows.
Across the sea.
Across the sea.
And when they grow.
And when they grow.
From shore to shore.
From shore to shore.
Our sisters and brothers.
Our sisters and brothers.
All around the world.
All around the world.
We'll harvest fruit.
We'll harvest fruit.
Brought by the dove.
By the dove.
And in those fruits.
And in those fruits.
Are the seeds of love.
Are the seeds of love.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Gonna make it grow.
Gonna make it grow.
Gonna water it well.
Gonna water it well.
Gonna weed and hoe.
Gonna weed and hoe.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Gonna plant me a garden.
Neath the sun above.
Neath the sun above.
And the seeds I'll plant.
And the seeds I'll plant.
Are the seeds of love.
Are the seeds of love.
And the seeds I'll plant.
And the seeds I'll plant.
Are the seeds of love.
Are the seeds of love.
Nice. Nice. Who's the violins on that? Do you remember offhand?
It's Jeff Davis.
Very nice. Yeah. I used to play violin, but not like that. That's very
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Yeah. Now this next one sounds you're very much mission oriented. What can one little person do? Tell us a little bit
I
about
put
that
this
one.
in because I didn't have very many songs that I chose from the children's songs that I did. And this one's probably the most well known. It was included in a book that was put out by Teaching Tolerance
Ah.
from the Southern Poverty Law Center. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it was called I Want to Be Your Friend was the name of the
Mm.
book, named
Mm-hmm.
after a song that um, Guy Davis wrote. I think Guy Davis wrote it.
Mm.
And, anyway, my song is "What Can One Little Person Do?" And I guess I don't really have a whole lot to say. Oh, I do
Yeah.
too. Yes, I do. Because the reason I wrote this song was
Mm-hmm.
because I had played in a school in Kentucky, and I walked into the school, and there was no sign of children anywhere. It was an elementary school, and I was supposed to do an assembly program for them. And it just looked so dead. There were, sports trophies everywhere, but no children's artwork, nothing. It was, and it was that horrible drab green. And
Mm.
the principal came in while I was well, no, actually what happened was I went and I got set up and the kids came marching in. I mean, they marched in and they were told to sit on the floor and just in the straight row in this row and make sure. And they had literally, I don't think they had rulers, but they had something to measure. Maybe it was by the
Ah.
squares in the floor, make sure you're 2 squares apart, rah, 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 and they were just, it was so militaristic. And then the
Wow.
principal came in his lime green leisure suit. And I said, oh, I just wondered. I thought maybe you used to be the coach. He said, yep, I was the coach. And he was a Marine before that. God bless the
Mm.
Marines. But in any case, I said it was February, and I said, "Oh, so what are you doing for Black History Month?" He looked at me like, "What?" He said, "We ain't got." There's a quote: "We ain't got no blacks here."
Mm. Okay.
And so I okay, so I wrote this song for him.
I love it. I love it. All right.
What can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? Harriet Tubman was alone on the darkened road to freedom, but she couldn't leave her people far behind. Moses stretched out her hand, she led them to the promised land, 'cause she knew that she had justice on her side. Oh, what can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world? When Sojourner Truth was freed, she got down on her knees, prayed to God to help her on her way. With her voice and with her might, she fought for what was right, 'cause she knew that she had justice on her side. Oh, what can one little person do? What can one little me or you do? What can one little person do to help this world go round? One can help another one, and together we can get the job done. What can one little person do to help this world?
Love it. Love it. It's also real catchy too. It's a foot tapper.
It is. It's an earworm. I
Yeah.
wrote after this was finished. And after the 2008 election, I wrote a verse for Obama that says, and I have to say it now in contrast to what we have, because it says, "When Barack was a young man excuse me, I didn't warm up today. When Barack was a young man in Chicago streets, he planned to help the least of us to find the meaning of hope. From Hawaii to DC, He fought for you and me, 'cause he knew that he had justice on his side.
I love it. Did you ever hear it? Do you know?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, we got Obama from Chicago. We also got the Pope from Chicago. So
Isn't that amazing? Oh
that is
my God.
amazing. It is
I couldn't
amazing.
believe it when I heard that one.
Oh my God. Now this last one is called "We Are Welcomed," and we'll play some of that. What's the story on this one?
I put myself a challenge. I wanted to write a song that was one sentence long.
Hmm.
And I wrote this and I never sang it. I had it stuck in a sheaf of papers, and Claudia and I were making our fourth album together, and it's called We Are Welcomed, actually. And she said, "Have you written any new songs?" I said, no, I don't think so. And then I said, well, let me go look in my little folder. So I went and looked through my little folder of stuff, and I found this. I said, well, I wrote this a while back. It goes like, and you're about to hear it. She said, well, that's a song. So we ended up recording it, and I really love the arrangement of it on here. Anyway, my challenge to myself was to write a song that was one sentence long. So this is one sentence plus a parenthetical clause.
Huh. Okay, you got me intrigued.
We are welcomed, we're welcome to this world. We're welcome to this world by the song that's in our hearts. It's been with us from the start. We're welcome to this world by the song in our hearts. We are welcomed, we're welcome to this world. We're welcome to this world by the joy that's in our hearts. It's been with us from the start. We're welcome to this world by the joy in our hearts. We are welcome, we're welcome to this world. We're welcome to this world by the hope that's in our hearts. It's been with us from the start. We're welcome to this world by the hope in our hearts.
I love it. So you talk about this folder. Do you keep like a little song ideas on folder? Is that how you do it?
Well, when I'm organized, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a
I
famous story
have
about yeah.
I have a couple of folders of song ideas, and I have
Mhm.
a gazillion notebooks that I've dabbled
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. I actually put little song ideas on my cell phone. Sometimes I hum them, sometimes I play little things, but I have to admit I don't go back and look at them all enough to really, nourish and feed them and bring everything to light. But
But
there's a
every now
famous
and then there's a good one there.
yeah,
I do that
exactly.
on my phone too, and every now and then I go back and I go, "Whoa, that was cool! I
Yeah.
should work
Yeah.
on that one."
There's a famous story of Joni Mitchell. She would write little lyrics on napkins when she's eating or something, put little strips of paper in her guitar case, and she would just collect all these little lyrical ideas. Anyway, well, this has been a wonderful hour or so, and I really appreciate your time. And what's great about your music is not only is it wonderful to listen to, but it serves a true purpose in the world to make the world a better place. And I wonder how much you must know that it must affect the world in a positive way. I don't know if you have some stories about how that happened, but I'm sure there's people that have been influenced by you that are making a difference in the world, and that's a wonderful thing that you're doing, Sally. So I
Oh, thank
salute I
you.
salute you for that. I think that's an amazing legacy that you are giving us. So and then you still perform locally. Do you have another engagement coming up anytime soon?
Boy, I should have had it on the tip of my tongue. I don't think, well, actually, yes, I'm playing at the Old Songs Festival, which is in Altamont, New York, at the Altamont Fairgrounds.
Mm.
It's very near Albany, New York.
Ah,
And it's, of course, open to the public. And let me give you the dates.
yeah.
It's a fabulous, fabulous festival. It's the best traditional music festival. I mean, the one thing we've been focusing on today is my own compositions, but I also sing traditional music, and I got here through traditional music.
Yeah.
And so the Old Songs Festival is the 27th of June through the 29th. So the last weekend of June in Altamont, New
Wonderful.
York. And the tickets are available online at theoldsongs.org
Excellent.
website. And I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's really
Wow.
fun.
Well, I can't thank you enough, Sally. This has been wonderful, and I want to encourage the audience to go to your website and to download your music, and certainly this hours.
www.sallyrogers.com.
There you go. I love it. All right. Well, everyone, have a good night. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sally. Really
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Andrew.
Have a great night.
Thanks.